This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020, episode 288. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. I'm live from the brand new Infection Podcast Studios, Brian, in southeastern North Carolina. The first show.
Also known as the Craig Castle.
No, that's not a cool name. I need the Craig Castle. I don't like the sound of that. I do need a cool name for it.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
I can't think of anything else that rhymes with Nick. That would be appropriate. So,
I can think of a couple things, but you make a very good point.
Yes. Well, hey, if you want to find me, you can find me at Boise Computer on Twitter. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, our website, which better be up this week. If you go to infectionpodcast.com, on the right-hand side, that's what happens when you pay the bill. On the right-hand side there, you'll see join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can join our news channel, which allows you to submit different links. So if there's a topic that you think we should cover, articles, maybe there's a game we haven't discussed that you think we should discuss, you're more than welcome to post that in the news channel. And we review that each week before the episode while building the show notes. Also, we have our Steam group. If you happen to be on your computer, you're on our Steam group, you get a notification right before the show starts. So you can jump in and join us live if you happen to be home. We also have our YouTube channel. We have our BitChute channel. We have our DLive channel. And Twitch, where we're at right now. And also we have our Infection Podcast Extras. So if you want to check out the pre and post show that we do, those are done for us by Judd. And he's very kindly does that for us each and every week. So you can go on there and watch the pre and post show if you would like to see those as well, which usually only the people who are watching live get to see. And then below that, we have all the different audio forms. So if you want to listen on a desktop app, mobile app, whatever it is, we have all those different forms there. And now show notes for all the episodes up to this point. So if you want to listen to it or watch it after the fact, one nice thing you can do is sit and follow along with the show notes. And you can check out the links and read the various articles that we're discussing in real time. So I think that's about it.
Yes, sir. Well, I moved, Brian. That happened the past week. To say it's in disarray and shambles would be an understatement. I didn't realize how much crap I had, specifically computer stuff. And now I look, and I've got like 6 desktop towers sitting over here, a couple servers.
Yep. I've lived in this house for 20 years. The thought of moving just doesn't sound fun. I mean, I don't have a ton of stuff, but like everything is exactly how I want it. And I can only imagine moving and then like having to retry to make that. So you'll get settled. That's the thing, is if you're there long enough, you get to the point where like everything's exactly how you want it. Just seems like that right now.
Yeah. Chronic is asking in the chat, what is the name of my political podcast? You can go to atnshow.com if you want to check that out. That's available there. I didn't do a show this past week because I didn't have all this stuff set up to do it, but it's atnshow.com.
Yeah, it's against the norm.
Yes, sir.
It's against the norm.
So removed, Brian. I'll tell you what, I got a great deal on this is marginally technology and gaming. I bought a TV about a year and a half ago, and it was cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I bought a TV on Sunday or Saturday. I got a 55-inch 4K Vizio Ultra HD for with tax, $416.
Yep. I pretty much did the same thing. So I have an elliptical and I wanted to put a TV in front of it. Mm-hmm. So I went and got what I thought would be a correct size TV, and I look and it's way too big. So then I shifted a couple around, put that one in my bedroom, moved the one from my room to my nephew's room. And but I was amazed. I was like, oh, it's so cheap. Like I'll get this size. And then I get there and it's like, okay, well, that's a pretty big TV for in front of an elliptical.
Yeah. So I was blown away with the price of You know, people crap on Vizio. I've had all the flat screens I've ever had.
Anyone who doesn't like Vizio, I've had Vizios for many, many years. My parents bought Vizios like quite a few, at least 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That thing lasted until we replaced it just because the technology advanced enough. I wanted them to have 4K. I've had Vizios here. I've never had a single Vizio fail. I've had plenty of other people. Never had one fail.
I have my first Vizio. It was in a closet in my old house or my apartment because I only had one TV in the living room. It's from I looked at the date on it. It's from 2007. The thing still works like a freaking champ.
Still works perfect. Yep. Yeah. And I would recommend for people that are interested, if you're interested in looking for a Vizio, go to Costco because there are a few different brands. They've got the Walmart brand of Vizio, and then Costco. They're the different series, but you can get a really good price on a Vizio at Costco, and that's like their high end of the Vizios that they carry there. So it's probably the best place to price wise to find it.
Yeah, let me see if I can 55. It was 55 inch. It's the M series Quantum is the name of this Vizio, and I just it was just an unbelievably low price. Like literally, I think it was on the shelf for $380 or something, and it was like $420 something $420 $430 tax out the door. Pretty impressive.
So Judd's saying I'm not a huge fan of the Vizio soundbar. I would look at some of the other ones.
Soundbar.
Because I have two Vizio sound bars.
I like
both are phenomenal. But the thing is you need to get the right tier. You need to get the one that has the subwoofer. If you get a good one, like it has an excellent sound. Out in the front of my living room on my main TV, I have the surround sound. It's got surround sound, which is remote, and which run off of the subwoofer, so you can put that in the back with the speakers. Works very, very, very good. It has almost too much bass. Like I have to tune it. I think I might have to turn it down because it's a little bit bassy for the room that it's in. But I would look at some of the others because I think if you find the one in my room sounds phenomenal, it's just a sound bar and a subwoofer. The one out front is the full surround, and they both sound excellent.
See, the one I have is just the sound bar, and the reason I really like it, Brian, is because you can use the same Vizio remote, and the volume on the Vizio remote controls the volume on the Vizio soundbar, so you never need another remote.
Yeah, anytime you get, and well, that's the nice thing about Vizios. I personally use the Fire TV, which then programs everything. So I just use the little Fire TV remote, and it runs everything. So I'm kind of spoiled in that way to where, like, I go to a place where I actually have to pick up another remote and change the volume. I'm like, oh, great.
I also ordered a Roku Ultra, which is their I really like Roku. I'm not opposed to Fire TV, but I've had Roku since before the Fire TV existed, and I've been very, very happy with them. So I ordered the 4K Roku, which was only $70, which I was pretty surprised with. So I got that coming as well tomorrow. So again, not that I don't really care. The last TV I have, which is sitting right here, is a Vizio. It's 1080p because I don't really care about 4K. I stream all my stuff, and streaming in 4K is not
most of my stuff. I don't watch in 4K. I mean, Netflix stuff I do, but most of the stuff I'm not watching in 4K.
But you're not. But the thing is the compression on 4K is if you're watching something locally in 4K, I would agree. But if you're streaming 4K, I would find it hard pressed that you would find a huge difference. It's probably compressed enough to where it's close to 1080 anyways. Yeah, and obviously that's if you're an AV snob, you're cringing right now. But let's be realistic here. So
that's the thing, but the difference between 1080 and 4K when you're streaming isn't mind blowing. Like you would have to look and be like, okay, I can kind of tell difference. It's not like going from 1080, which is HD, from the old versions of
480p
HD. Yeah, I mean that's a big difference. You don't notice as huge of a difference going to 4K because I have 4K in 2 rooms right now, and it doesn't look that much different.
Yeah, so I'm excited to try. Obviously, I'm sure I've seen 4K TVs, but I've never actively watched anything in 4K. So I'll be curious now with my Plex Media. Does Plex transcode 4K locally?
Yes.
Okay, so I have to download some 4K content locally.
Yeah, so if you can stream to 4K to your TV from Plex. One thing I did too is I actually went and added a on the roof antenna, like one of the high end antennas, and then I've hooked that. I have a little box. I actually ran a bunch of stuff to my attic, and it's all running to like a little switch and everything in my attic. But I hooked live TV up to my Plex because I have a friend. I have an HD home run, and then I plug that in with that antenna, and it picks up like 100 local channels. which most of them, like it's picking up ones I think from like Oregon and things like that. So they're not even ones that are in my directory, but kind of interesting.
Yeah. So there's enough TV talk, but we are all moved in, Brian. Oh, sorry. I moved in. I moved. I'm not going to say in because it's not really all in yet, but yeah, officially we, Brian, you and I have been through a lot together. I feel like we did like a montage of like you and I holding hands frolicking through a field with like the start. I was in high school. You were a married man.
Yeah, high school, relationships, jobs, like everything's kind of flying by, and then here we are.
Yeah, and then it's just a record scratch. Brown and I are both single bachelors. just hanging out.
Everything repeats itself back. Yeah.
Or it's a total flip. I'm married and you're not, and it's just like a total like world flip.
I know. Here, 10 years, I'll be homeless, and you'll have a house.
Yeah, I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah,
in charge of Microsoft. Yeah. So that is that. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to look at. I've been I think I said on last week's show. I've been MIA for the past couple days. But Brian, I saw an interesting story that you put in the show notes here, and it was an article from PC Gamer, and the headline is 1/3 of developers have had their games delayed due to coronavirus. And this was a survey taken by, now you think, oh, this is some crappy Twitter poll. This was taken by GDC, which is I think it's the most popular, well-known, it's the authority of developer conferences, right? I mean, GDC is the creme de la creme of conferences. And they said that 33% of developers claim that their games have been working on, that they've been working on their games, citing, and then upwards of, and it's claimed 70% of developers have had to move to working from home since the pandemic begun. So 33% of them said their games have been delayed due to working from home. My question to you, Brian, is this now you and I both worked from home. I think actually my productivity was, are you still working from home?
Yeah, I'm still working from home. I mean, I have the option to go in, but there's so many rules that I would have to follow being in the office, and I'd probably be the only one there anyways. So I just drive down there and sit in an office all by myself. It's not really worth it.
So I don't know about you, but I noticed my productivity went up significantly working from home for a couple of different reasons. I was able to eat more regular meals. Like I was able to make like an actual breakfast in the morning. I think
for me, it cuts out 2:45 to half an hour to 45-minute commutes each way.
So more.
I mean, that's almost a couple hours of my day just that I can dedicate to work and actually charge my company for versus me just driving there, at my own expense.
So then let me ask you this:
that doesn't make a difference.
Is this 33% of developers full of it? Or is obviously there's some legitimacy working from home. I get it. Or excuse me, there is some delays, but 1/3 of games in development, most of these, Brian, I would assume are very small indie studios. I don't buy it.
I think there are some logistics that make game development specifically more difficult. First of all, because the size of the files, it really depends. When you're working, for instance, with Unreal Engine and they have blueprints and things like that, it's not working off of pure code, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to do remotely, to do versioning and everything else. If they're doing a straight, like let's say a C++ or a C# game, the code itself isn't huge, but you still have all those image files, assets and things like that are going along with it that are gigantic usually. And so trying to sync those up and have them to where they're constantly updated if people are working on similar parts, they can't really work on the same thing easily anymore. I think the technology, that if anything, what this should do is spur some development in the tools that they use to allow for remote, because that's something that they've kind of hinted at. I mean, look at Google with their Stadia. That's something that they have. Oh, thank you, Google, for that. My phone is now answering me. But that's something that they can turn around, and they were kind of pushing as far as doing remote development. Development in the cloud, where you're kind of remoting in. That I think is going to now be something that will be more of a standard or something that they push for, to where, because one thing I pointed out when they first announced Stadia was okay, well, this really helps with security and not having assets leak, files not getting sent, because you have more control, especially working remotely. If you're syncing full games to your team at their homes, that is a big security risk. There's a big risk of your game being leaked. Let's say they get a virus or somebody comes to their house, even uses their computer. There's just so many possible problems with having a full copy of the game development files on a system remotely versus them not sending everything and then sending only partial things. Well, that's a lot of work to kind of set up and make sure that they still have access to everything they need. So I think it's just that companies were not set up to be able to do this by default. I think a lot of them are now playing catch up, and I hope that this kind of spurs the industry to maybe change how development works to where you'll have the option to work remotely. And I think you're going to be doing it through services like Stadia, where it's actually more like a remote desktop system. You're working on things remotely so that you can keep that local network speed, but you're working on it remotely. That certain things won't work for like graphics editing and things like that, but for a lot of other things it would.
Well, Judd and PH are talking about a service called Parsec, Brian. I don't know if you've seen it. I watched a Linus Tech Tips video on it. I believe they had one of their editors try to edit, because they're in kind of a similar boat where they're editing. Their video files are hundreds of gigabytes because they're the formats that they shoot in. So I believe they had somebody edit a video through Parsec, and they were pretty impressed with it. I believe
if you can get the delay down, because that's the hardest part. If you're trying, especially if you ever tried to be very particular with a mouse and you're like, I got to click on this exact spot, that's very difficult. If they can get it to where it's responsive enough, even if it highly compresses the video, it doesn't need to be perfect unless you're doing something that requires you to actually see that detail. But I think something like that is what things are going to go towards, because you can't, I think more people are going to be working remotely. And this is going to become more of a standard, but they're going to have to change the industry and how game development actually works to make that truly happen. It's going to have to be remote desktop stuff.
Yeah, and also, I misquoted Judd. He's using a service called Perforce, PER.
Oh yeah, Perforce, and that's more of like a syncing, code syncing application.
Gotcha.
So like SVN, GitHub type of a thing, but Perforce is more integrated in the Unreal Engine client, the editor, to where it does a little bit better job of handling the files.
Yeah. So I sympathize isn't the right word, but I sympathize with what these developers, I'm sure, are dealing with, right? But there are tools, Brian, that exist that do some of this stuff, and I'm not saying that the developers are lying, but it seems like a beneficial excuse.
But I think the ones that are implementing or have been implementing those, you got to think it's probably taken them a couple weeks to a month just to find and integrate.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Brian. These are small studios, most of these people. It's two or three guys. So, I don't know. This isn't... You know where you're not hearing these stories being talked about? And I know, obviously, we just talked about CD Projekt Red a couple of weeks ago delaying Cyberpunk. But I haven't heard this from Activision. I haven't heard this from Rockstar. I haven't heard this from Bethesda. And obviously, those are much larger studios. I could understand the collaboration, Brian, when you're part of a team of 150 guys that are doing horse animations for Red Dead Redemption. I can imagine that working remotely would be a huge pain, just from the collaboration standpoint. But I think of the Miscreated guys, for example. They built their entire game remotely. None of them lived. Half of them don't even live in the United States.
Yeah. So it is possible. I think when it gets to the really big projects, that's when it becomes difficult, because you have so many people that may need to see a file and need to figure out, how do I get that around without, because that's the thing that you don't want to do. You don't want to be sending assets to people's homes. That is such a big risk. I can't imagine them doing that, especially on some of these big AAA titles where their NDAs and the risk of leaks are such a big deal. Like anything by Rockstar, Activision, these big companies, they do not want these assets out available. They have very strict procedures for making sure that these assets don't leave the network. And now all of a sudden everybody's working from home and they have to figure out, well, how do we protect against this? So that I can understand. That is probably a lot of it was not the developers not being able to actually do it, but the studios actually saying, all right, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do. We're going to open this up. We have to figure out how to get around these problems because they're not going to send those assets out.
True. So I thought it was interesting. I imagine we're going to continue to see these delays through
probably through the end of the year.
I would say through more than that. I was going to say halfway through. I was going to say like spring of next year.
Well, I think the delays are happening now through the end of the year, but it's going to be affecting games all the way through next year, as far as the release dates.
Exactly. So, and also, how does this play into next generation consoles? I would imagine a third of these games, I would assume at least some of them were slated for next generation consoles. I still do. And I read an article this week or last week about the next generation consoles, and Sony, I think it was a Sony article, said that they were anticipating having more PlayStation 5s ready at launch than they did PlayStation 4s, and I don't physically see how that's going to be possible. But,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not in the supply chain, so I don't know.
Well, and this makes you wonder what's happening over in China, where probably most of these things are being developed as far as produced. You keep hearing like there's a shutdown, but are they just not shutting down? I mean, are things not being shut down and people are just working? I mean, that could be possible too, to where they're just pumping them out and kind of going on like normal. So we'll find out. We'll find out when it comes closer to launch day.
I would agree. All right. So, did we hear anything else from Dr. Disrespect this week?
Yes. So what we did here is that, well, it was kind of a lot of nothing. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't remember if we talked about this really last week, but it's pretty much him saying, I don't know why. They haven't told me why. But he says that he has plans, they're going to keep moving forward. They're going to redo the Champions Club. He's going to do pretty much, he said Docs 3.0 is what he said is going to happen. So I think they're going to be re-releasing. I don't know what platform, whether it's going to be YouTube or, there's been the rumors about doing it on Spotify, or not Spotify. Was it Spotify?
Spotify and Facebook. Yeah.
And Facebook game, like where he's going to go, he didn't hint at. But he's saying that he's taking this time to create all new graphics and kind of do a big reveal for when he does come back. But he claims he has not received a reason from Twitch of why he's banned yet.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. And, anywhere you see these articles, they're just rehashing that same interview.
Yeah, I think PC Gamer had the exclusive. Yeah.
So. Yeah, and he did post a video today,
I saw it, but he doesn't show anything
a couple days ago. But it's just him standing there, and it's kind of just a hype video. So no real news. It was just pretty much him saying, I don't know, we don't know why, and stand by, things are coming.
Pretty crazy.
It's pretty much what it rounds down to. But it is crazy that he could get their biggest, I mean, I don't know how much money they put into him. I don't remember if we knew what the contract was worth, but it is pretty crazy that they're one of their biggest streamers just banned overnight with supposedly no reasoning.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some legal action to prove that one way or the other.
And supposedly he can go after them legally. I assume that they probably are paying out his contract, but if not, then I would assume, if they don't pay out his contract, I would assume that he could then go to court and probably get that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, not a whole lot to but I did see his name kind of floating around the ether a little bit.
I would have brought it in if there was a little more news, but it was really just a lot of nothing.
Now the U.S. government, Brian, is taking some stuff away from Twitch and Twitch away from the U.S. government. There was a channel that was
for their sports team or their esports team.
It was and I don't remember what it's called, but it's some branch of the military that's that. But they were apparently running fake giveaways, and this wasn't like stolen valor military. These people were actually working for the army in this capacity, and I guess they just weren't fulfilling
they have
the
an
giveaways.
actual. Yeah, they have an actual. I think they were doing like a fake giveaway type of thing, kind of like what Twitch was doing with some of these other games, where you get these things that are given to you, in-game items and things like that. But these ones, they were not. They're doing giveaways, but then not actually delivering things, and so they've been told that they're not allowed to do that. You can't do a fake giveaway, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's in the Twitch rules. I haven't really looked into that far, but they're saying that here. I'll give you a quote here. The silence from Twitch on the latest wave of criticism regarding the military using the site to scam kids into sharing personal info speaks volumes. So people are claiming that they're doing a fake giveaway in order to get people to sign up for something, or to give their information,
collect recruitment information. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is, you think you're going to get something, you think you're going to win a Xbox controller, you click the link, it takes you to a recruitment page with no information about the contest at that point. It doesn't talk about content, it's just a recruitment page. So they're getting them to click and thinking they're winning something, but then you click the link and there's no thing. There's no prize. So they're telling him, you can't do that, which I can understand. I think if they would have done a little more cleverly, as far as don't say, hey, we're going to give you an Xbox controller, but hey, we'll give you a level up. You could word it however you want. You could say something and it's like, okay, we're about to level up your life and, give you, and then list all the things that you think are positive about the military, right? I think that saying that they're going to give a specific thing, an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, and then not giving that, that's what gets them in trouble.
Yeah, I read through this story, and then now the ACLU it's turning into just a huge cluster F of nonsense. And then of course Kotaku says army propaganda is common in the United States. Typical Kotaku bullshit. How about you stick to the story? But yeah, to be honest, I think Kotaku would be shocked by it if they went to any career fair at any sort of high school, because every branch of the military is at career fairs.
Yeah.
The Marines, the Army, the National Guard, they're all over the place. Go to any sort of outdoor street fair kind of thing. There was always some sort of recruitment, USO, some sort of recruitment thing. So to say that this is uncommon is not accurate at all. And the fact that Kotaku thinks that military recruitment is bad in the United States, I wonder what they think about a country like Israel, Brian, where it's mandatory, male and female, mandatory service in the military. I wonder what Kotaku's thought on that would be.
I think they would.
I don't really have an opinion on it, but to say that military propaganda in the United States is not uncommon, and making it look, there are plenty of countries
where in parts of the military service is mandatory.
Yes, and in Israel, it is men and women required for military service.
Now,
I just think that's pretty interesting.
This next one is the exact same thing. It involves Twitch and the U.S. military. Did you know they're not allowed to ban people on their Twitch channel?
Yeah, well, it's the same way the president's not allowed to block people on Twitter.
So the U.S. Army, people can go in there and post anything they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they are not allowed to ban them because they
Correct.
say it violates the First Amendment rights. Watching the U.S. Army esports team and not being able to give your comment to the esports team about their video game is violating their First Amendment rights.
Yes, because it's a government entity.
Yet we have to be very careful about what we say about all things, and we get silenced. Our First Amendment rights don't matter. But the esports team, that's what I think that is kind of odd.
No, it's the other way around. It's not that the esports team, it's that they can't ban
They're not
viewers.
allowed to.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm saying they're not allowed to ban. They're so concerned that these people are able to voice their First Amendment rights at these streamers, and then they can't even filter out. I mean, who knows what? I mean, you see comment threads. the kind of insane things that these people are posting, the penises using ASCII art, everything, Hitler's flying by, all the things are just zooming by. They just got demonetized on YouTube. Thank you.
Don't hold your hand up any further, Brian.
Well, I'm just talking about like comments are flipping by. I won't go any higher. But that's the thing is here, like anyone can say anything they want. They don't have the right to ban. Yet we have to be so careful that we don't use a certain word and without getting banned. It's just, but these guys can't even keep their channel clean. I mean, you're encouraging kids to come here to watch this, or kids, when I say kids, I'm talking 18, right? To come here to watch this because you want to get them interested in the U.S. Army.
Yeah.
But then you can't prevent them from stopping pornographic types of images and incredibly racist things from being typed in chat and having these kids exposed to that. That's insane to me.
Yeah, there are some stupid things in the case of that, and that happens to be one of them. It's also the same thing with Twitter.
I just think it's hypocritical. I mean, we can't say normal everyday things, but then people can go on here and say whatever they want, and these guys don't have the right to ban them. They're not the government. It's an esports team representing. I mean, can we go? If I go to the football team for, let's say, the Navy, can I then yell and scream any kind of hateful, racist, anything, whatever I want at them? They can't tell me I need to leave because I have my First Amendment right.
You actually might be able to. In all seriousness, you might be able to, because I know this is a very common thing with certain things. For example, the White House YouTube channel cannot ban people. They can turn comments off, but they can't specifically ban certain people.
I think it would be better for them, as Jay Delore is saying. What about like putting their chat in emo only mode, or putting it in some other mode? Or
I don't know.
I don't know if there's any kind of way around that, but
well, since I would imagine Twitch is such a huge fan of the U.S. Army, I'm sure Twitch will get right on whipping up a solution for them, because I'm sure Twitch is all gung ho on military, so I'm sure Twitch will be right in the forefront of that, Brian, working up a crackpot solution to this problem for the Army.
Yeah, I'm sure, but it is frustrating to see like this. That's just you can't have common sense anymore, and that just seems common sense. It's an esports team. It's not an official like presentation or
but it is
by the U.S. government.
But it is, because they're representing the U.S. Army. So it is. I mean, I agree with you completely, but it literally, to the most literal definition, is.
So what if I go to a place where they're doing a broadcast? Can I go to the side of the TV and the camera that's broadcasting on live TV and scream whatever I want? And if they try to silence me, that's blocking my First Amendment right.
But live TV isn't government.
Twitch isn't government.
Twitch isn't not the one not banning them. The U.S. Army can't ban people from.
But I'm saying they're
chat.
not allowed to prevent people from interacting with it. Can they prevent me, if they're doing an official U.S. Army thing, prevent me from screaming next to the to the camera or wherever their microphones are?
I'm not exactly sure what is or what isn't protected by the Constitution.
It just seems odd. It seems like a double standard.
No,
they wouldn't let you do it. I know that they wouldn't let you do that.
Yeah, but they don't let people. They don't let senators block people on Twitter, and the president can't block people on Twitter either.
Yeah.
Now he can from his personal account, but not from the app POTUS account.
But you don't have to look at the comments. You know what I'm saying? Like they should allow them to just turn off chat.
Yeah, I don't know.
They can't turn off chat. That's what I'm saying. Like let them turn off chat.
Yeah, but do you know that this is a problem?
What do you mean, as far as the problem of what people are doing?
Yeah, like, is it a cesspool? I would imagine nobody is watching the U.S. Army's esports team on Twitch. Who the hell cares? Could you think of anything more boring watching? I'd rather watch one of these titty streamers playing just Dance Dance Revolution or something. And I don't even like watching that stuff.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know. I just can't think of any way around this without somehow them being infringed, as far as they can't clean it up. You can't say that unless Twitch is willing to go in there and ban people for breaking their terms of service. They can Twitch, if they're not allowing them to actually block people or to ban people, then Twitch needs to be in there doing it in real time. Because you're the thing is you are causing people and youth, which you don't control on your platform, to see things that they shouldn't be seeing.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it's odd. It's a
but
weird
it's
situation.
But it's not odd because, as I said, this stuff literally happens all over the place. Like anything that is official government stuff, they cannot ban people. And this became a big deal with Donald Trump with Twitter. Because they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, he's muting people on Twitter, blocking them, First Amendment. And it was like, all right. It's a freaking Twitter account. I agree, it's stupid, but it's not.
YouTube Live, you can disable chat. I think that they should allow, if they're not allowed to ban people, just let them disable chat. Or I would hope that they'd be able to put it in some sort of a different.
But you're not going to disable the chat on Twitch. They're trying to interact.
It in slow mode to where they can't do like the ASCII.
They might already do that.
Yeah, that would be one way, but they still can't stop the one-liners of whatever people are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid, but I can't imagine it's a huge deal. Here's a story, Brian, that you were sitting over here with your tinfoil hat talking about how Metacritic is deleting user scores from Last of Us Part 2, and lo and behold, here's a Forbes article, Brian, talking about the exact same thing. So what was Metacritic actively changing user reviews that people were submitting?
Well, there was a lot of speculation on what was happening because people were able to go in and submit reviews that were higher scores, but they would hit a timeout whenever they tried to submit a score that was low. So that was the initial thing that was happening. For me, it wouldn't let me give my comment. I could give my score review, but I couldn't type my review and actually submit it. It would constantly time out. And so that was a pretty big issue. And then now what they're doing is, so their solution to this, and I don't think this is a real solution because a lot of people had watched the leaked video gameplay and they knew what was coming up. And so they've already seen most of the game. And then they're giving their rating of the game based on what they watched, which, is kind of, that's borderline as far as, because there are things that you'll experience playing the game that you won't experience watching it. Right. But now they're going to prevent you from submitting a score for a certain period of time following the release of a game. So for 36 hours, the first 36 hours, you cannot submit a score on a game. And because they want you to play through it enough to get a good idea. And
do you have a problem with this?
No, not with this. I have a problem with all the fake reviews.
Oh, so do I.
There are so many fake reviews on there that they have not made any attempt to clean up. The number of 10 out of 10, I brought this up last week, the number of 10 out of 10 reviews that are from random usernames, but the exact same comment, 40% of the review, 10 out of 10s on Metacritic for The Last of Us 2 are all the exact same review with a different username. They're the identical review, copy and pasted. That's 40% of their 10 out of 10s. And you're trying to tell me that this is going to help make it more accurate?
Let me ask you this.
36 hours. They're fake reviews.
Who is in this cabal, Brian? Is this Naughty Dog? Is this Sony? Is this Naughty Dog and Sony stroking Metacritic? Is this Metacritic trying to appease Sony and Naughty Dog? Who is the string puller behind the curtain here, Brian? Who is the Wizard of Oz? This is obviously coordinated, but Metacritic is obviously part of it. They can't not be. But is this Naughty Dog and Sony? Is this just users that are? Is this the SJW internet revolution? That's like, here we go, guys. Let's go and post a bunch of positive reviews to shut up these white nationalists.
And I think your last one is closer to the reality of they feel that these negative reviews are being done not based on the game, but based on the fact that they've included, trans people and all these, all the different checkboxes they could possibly do in this video game they've done, right? I think that they're saying the reason that people are claiming not to like it is because of those things, not because the game was actually written like a pile of crap. I think that they don't want to admit that the game is just not fun, and people are rating it that it's bad because it's not fun, and they want to say, oh, it's not the game, it's just all these hateful, bigoted people. And so they're trying to fix that, when the real problem is not the rating system, it's the fact that their game was super lousy. One thing that I'm going to do in a couple weeks is go through, I'm getting some documentation put together, but the person that wrote The Last of Us 2 is not the same person that wrote The Last of Us 1. Neil Druckmann did not spearhead and have a lot of the decision-making things done on The Last of Us 1. He did on The Last of Us 2. And there's quotes from people that worked with him on the early projects that said he is a hack. They said it at the time. They didn't say it now. They said that he is a hack. He takes credit for other people's work, and he's not as good as what people claim because he's taking other people's work. But then here he comes around and he's like, oh, everybody thinks I'm great. And he goes and do one himself. And then look at the dumpster fire it ends up being. It's because he made so many poor decisions in the making of the game, from the writing to just a lot of core decisions. Technically, it's a beautiful game, but there's all the things that the people are saying is wrong with it. Most of them are very accurate. It's not about the characters per se, as far as whether they're gay or trans or, whatever it is you want to say they are. It's that they wrote the game so poorly that people just do not enjoy playing it. And the people that claim that they do, most likely it's because they're like, oh, this, they're doing it because of a social justice standpoint, because they feel like that they have to like it. No, the game is, compared to the first one, is crap. It's crap, literally. And they don't like the fact that people are rating it based on what it feels like to play. Now, pushing this out, I don't think it would have changed it much. I think so many people watched that video, they got on there, and they realized this is not, you stole a game that we were looking, and that's how I feel. I feel like they stole a game that I was looking forward to. I got into PlayStations purely for this game and Red Dead. That's how much I was looking forward to The Last of Us 2. And now I can't even get myself to finish it. I'm in the last 3 quarters, and I get so bored playing it that I get bored. I just can't do it. I'm trying. I only got a quarter of the game left, and I can't get myself to finish it. It's just so boring.
Okay, so there's a couple things I want to hit here then. The first thing was, okay. Well, actually, I want to read Firebomb's comment. He said, this is why streamers are needed. I watch people playing it and make up my own mind. Review data sites can't be trusted. You can't balance it for truth. That's accurate. Yep. I think for a long time. This is a perfect
example that critics' ratings are 100% false. I mean,
yeah, but just in general.
They're so swayed that there are people that are telling the truth in the middle, but most of them are doing it because, if we give them a high rating, we get early access to do a review, which gives us money, gives us views. It's all these wrong reasons that they're doing this. They're doing this game is not 10 out of 10. And if you think so, I don't know what planet you're living on. It's impossible. The writing is horrible.
So okay, so we got that. Generally, Brian, text-based reviews most of the time are kind of garbage anyway. Amazon has dealt with this issue for 15, 20 years. eBay has dealt with this issue for, all of these online marketplaces have dealt with these issues. To me, it seems like the issue is not the reviews. The issue is Metacritic. And the issue is these sites.
Probably the way that they're doing it too.
Well, it's just, give a game a 1 out of 10.
Yeah,
like, what does that mean?
That's incredibly generic. That's what I was saying. They need to do it to where, graphics, rate the graphics 1 out of 10. Rate the playability, accessibility, all the things that you're saying. These are the selling points that make a good game. Because the accessibility, probably 10 out of 10. It's one of the best accessible games when it comes to people with various disabilities. One of the best there are. So out of that, you could say 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever it is that you feel it is. But when it comes to the story, I'd like to say the story is a 1. The tech, the playability, or the technical whatever is a certain score. Graphics is a certain score. If you could get them to split it up to where you're actually rating the game and not just giving it a flat base score, because you're going to tell me that they would guarantee a 10 out of 10 for the story. If they did that, they would be so obvious that they're lying that you would say,
not even that.
It's just
score. To me, it just seems like, we've talked about this now for going on 2 months now since this game, or not 2 months, probably 6 weeks since this game came out. To me, and it's the same issue with Steam. It's the same issue with Amazon. The star or the number is one thing, Brian. It's the comment that really matters. But when you go to the Metacritic or any of these sites, it's not just a Metacritic issue. You just look at the top score. The critics, the video game journalists, they give it a 94, yet the users are giving it a 55. So where, obviously there's something wrong there, and it just seems like to me that the system is very antiquated, and that to me is the larger issue than The Last of Us Part 2 or Metacritic. It's just a crappy system, Brian. This is a 1980s, 1970s style review system. This is like a Billboard top chart system.
Okay, that's like that. But Head Neophyte's pointing out, like the system I'm referencing is like what they used back when you got game magazines or PC magazines where they're giving you all the categories, speed, graph, whatever it is, and then they're letting you rate each one. I think this is just this Metascore giving you a flat-based number doesn't tell you. I mean, because let's say the game is beautiful, yet the story is horrible. So I'd rather play a game that's the opposite of that. I'd rather play a game to where it's, 7 Days to Die. Look at it.
Well, things are weighted differently. That you can't weight things on a single 10 scale. There's no weight.
But exactly. So, but if you went to each area, you say, okay, the graphics aren't great, but you know what? The playability, 10 out of 10. Perfect. You could break it down and then I could say, oh, well, I like a game that's more playable. Doesn't have to be beautiful. This for me might be a good fit. There's some people that only care about how it looks, and that's like one of their primary things. They can go for the one that looks better. But I just think that the way that they rate this in this flat-based system, this number system, take it to where you have 10 categories of 10, right? Make 10 categories of 10. That will add up to 100. That'll be your top 100 score. Rate each section 1 out of 10. There you go. There's your score. That's you can then come up with a flat number, but then you could click on it and actually break it down to here's why you got that score. Here's where it rated high. Here's where it rated low. And people actually know why you liked it or not and they wouldn't have to read the text comments and all those things. They could skim through and get a pretty good idea of what the game's about, because you should see consistencies between all these different ratings at that point. If you see them all over the board, that there's just a bunch of BS.
Yes, I would agree. And I just think the system itself is more of the issue than the reviews. And this happens, this review bombing. We've talked about this for 5 years on this program, review bombing. This is not this is not an uncommon thing.
It's not a new thing.
No, I find it interesting that The Last of Us Part 2 has been like, we've been literally talking about this, Brian, since the game came out. Every week there's a new story that circulates back into the Metacritic reviews of this game. It won't end.
And their system was so, I don't know if it's working like normally yet, but I went weeks later, tried to submit my review finally, it still didn't work. So it's like they've got some major issues on their site. And if they're not careful, they're going to make it to where, it's like an IGN 10 out of 10. Like, who cares at that point? It doesn't mean anything. And Metacritic's going to become the exact same way. It won't mean anything if they don't come up with a way to legitimately let people rate the games while still kind of trying to prevent. And I think if you make it to where it's a process to leave a review, where you actually have to go through, it'll be more difficult for someone to go through. If you make it just take a little bit more time, people are less likely to review bomb. Put in some things so that people can't spam 100 to 1,000 reviews either. How did they get the exact same review for 40% of the reviews and have nothing preventing that? There's obviously a lot lacking in their system in the back end if that's what they're allowing to happen.
Let's talk about our friends over at what used to be known as Daybreak Game Studios, Brian. They run
I couldn't resist putting this in here because, we haven't talked about Daybreak in a while.
They run, it's no longer Daybreak. It's now one of their subsidiaries, Standing Stone Games. They are the group that is behind Lord of the Rings Online. Just after the show last week, it was Wednesday morning, there started to be realms are what they call their servers, which is pretty common in these MMOs. They're called realms or something realms. Like that. Realms started having issues. Certain realms started having issues where players couldn't connect. Brian, this went on all the way through Monday. And as I pull up their form now, this was as of today, as of yesterday, all game worlds except for 2 have reopened. So there are still ongoing server issues almost 7 days after this thing started.
Yeah.
How?
So they're claiming that this is hardware issues at the data center, at the game's data center. Now, I don't know how after this long of a time that they haven't replaced or fixed. I mean, if it's a hardware issue, that's one of the easier things, short of data being corrupted, right? Which then, are they not backing up their system if that's the case? But there should be a system to where they could just replace that piece of hardware and it should be up, right? At least to the day of what it was at the time of the hardware failure. But they're still not. I mean, it's just surprising that they're struggling so much.
Cloudflare had a huge DNS outage this past week, and it was due to a hardware issue. It was a switching issue in Atlanta. But to me, I agree with you, Brian. A hardware issue at a data center. It started on Wednesday.
After a week,
it went through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and as of Monday, they were still taking the server. 5 days, the servers were offline. That is, and by the way, this is Lord of the Rings Online free?
So they have free to play tiers, and then this is where they kind of do their subscription service that Daybreak does, where you can pay money to have access to premium versions of all of their games. So they do have a free one, but then they also charge for certain services, having a larger inventory and a whole number of perks that you get for paying.
That's pretty crazy. So now let's see. There are still 2 unavailable worlds. All other game worlds remain open. We are currently investigating issues at our data center. We'll keep you up to date. We'll have more information on the event and other schedules in the coming days. Please note that most in-game chat /friend/ignore lists are disabled except for /say and /tell. We will tell you when the chat service.
If it's a hardware issue, how is those specific things down? If it's a hardware issue,
yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just
so there's
very
still 2
odd.
worlds that are down. Arakenstone and I've never seen Lord of the Rings, so excuse my ignorance. And Saranon, I don't know how that would be pronounced. So there's still 2 realms that are down.
Yeah.
And if you play in that realm, your character is in that realm. So you've been SOL for the last week.
You're talking about Saruman?
No, there's no M in it.
Saruman?
No, Sirannon. I don't know how you'd pronounce it. I don't know how that's pronounced. Sarannon.
I think that's a made up. Siranon. Oh, it's a river in Eriador. Okay,
great.
It's a river in Middle Earth.
Fantastic. It's down, so you're not playing on it. Still down. Going on 7 days now. 2 realms are still offline.
Well, I mean, this is Daybreak, so
pretty unbelievable.
I mean, you can change the name, but it's still the same company.
Yeah, that's well, and I tell you what, this is what they're known for at this point, is taking these online games, taking these older online, always online games and keeping them active. And I just don't know how you have a 7-day server, like sporadic server outage. It just seems crazy.
So the one thing that I think that may hint at why would be if they're hosting this on really old hardware. Yeah. That because this is a really old service. I mean, these Lord of the Rings Online is old. And if they're running this on old hardware that it maybe is very difficult to find replacement hardware for at this point, which is very possible. It could be that they have certain systems that who knows?
It's old, but it's not that old. It came out in 2007.
They may be, but I'm saying what they maybe do is migrating things onto other hardware because they couldn't find replacement hardware for a system that something is hosted on. I mean, that would be a possibility.
You think it's running like Windows Server 2003 or something?
That's what I'm saying. They could be on really old software and hardware that they've never migrated, because you got to think these server clients that they're running were written
2005.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 years ago that these things were written. And so it's running on a really old version of Windows. You're not just going to say, all right, let's throw Windows Server 2016 up there, and have these, because they're probably not virtualizing all these things because of performance and the hardware that they're actually running. I have a feeling that it could be that they are actually having to migrate and do some work that takes a little bit of time to actually do, because they couldn't bring it up they don't have a replacement identical system there ready to swap out.
Yeah. I found it interesting.
That's kind of that's the weird case that I could envision causing this to happen.
Interesting, nevertheless.
Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll get that fixed up. Because I mean, if they kind of ruin their name, this as you says, their bread and butter. This is what Daybreak does now. They take these old games, they host them, they keep them running. If they're, hopefully this is a learning lesson for them. Get your servers off of old hardware if that's the cause. Whatever it is. Because this could make, if this happens on a regular basis, it won't be where they want to host their servers anymore when they're kind of moonlighting them.
Agree completely. So a little more downtime at another Daybreak project.
Yes.
Color me shocked.
And I'll get the game giveaway here going in a moment. But there's a weird thing that happened with this game called Rune 2.
Rune 2, okay.
It was released on the Epic Game Store.
Okay.
Problem is, so it released on the Epic Game Store November 12th. And then on November 13th, the studio closed its doors. So this is Rune 2, Rune 2.
One day?
So the studio closed their doors the day after releasing the game. And they said we're not going to be supporting the game anymore. And then they resurfaced as another studio under Bethesda. So Bethesda Softworks Roundhouse Studios. They resurfaced that same day as that, and saying that they're going to be doing other projects there, and they're not supporting this game that they just released. Very, very odd. One thing kind of makes me think that might have kind of lent to this is, I bet you they got a payout from Epic
the day
to make it an exclusive. Yeah. And then they got their money, and then they shut it down, and to keep it. But they're not going to be supporting the game. That's the problem. This is really killing the sales. I mean, would you go buy a game that now is no longer going to be putting out any support or updates? So they announced it it took 2 years to make the game. So they announced it, took 2 years to finish development, and then they released it November 12th. November 13th, closed the doors. And now this is the state of it. So if you're thinking of purchasing Rune 2, I would encourage you not to do that, because it's pretty much a DOA game at this point. But this is something I don't think it's necessarily an Epic problem, unless I would think now maybe they'll rewrite their contracts, because this is something we talked about. What's the incentive if you give them a payout in the beginning for some of these smaller studios? They got their money. They're not really then having to push as much to do well on producing their game and releasing it. And you see here, these guys felt like it was worth it just to shut down and start up a whole new project under a different studio and give no support for the game, because they weren't caring about the sales. They got their payout from Epic.
Yeah, and there's some dollar figures in here claiming that the studio would have earned $67,000 on the final milestone due after release, and another $110,000 for supporting the game post-launch. So it looks like they collected some cash for the release and then just dipped.
Yep.
Huh.
Well, very odd.
Can I say well, is it though? I mean,
you figure a studio would care more about their project than that?
I don't think so.
I mean, I would. I mean, if I put all that time into making it,
I find it odd, but I don't find it surprising.
Yeah, I can't imagine somebody thinking it's okay to do.
I don't think it's okay to do, but are you really shocked that some shady independent indie dev releases a game and then shutters their company the next day? Who's getting the sales from the game then if their company's gone?
Probably that studio is. I have no clue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it seems very odd.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that and see who would actually receive funds. Yeah. Because I would be surprised that they could then funnel that to the new studio legally.
I would think the exact same thing.
So, yeah, anyways, I thought people might be interested in that. Avoid that game. But that is something that happened in the last couple of months that's kind of coming to light now. So for the game giveaway, I'd like to give away a copy of Grid, the Ultimate Edition. And this is currently $60 on Steam. If you do ! giveaway, we'll give a copy of this away. But it's $59.99 on Steam. And it's mixed reviews, but it is a racing game. And hopefully people like it. It's a racing sports simulation action casual game. So,
cool.
! giveaway.
Yes, sir. ! giveaway in chat for that. Brian, let's get into a little survival news here, and we've got some stuff here from Dead Matter. They are now on the weekly blog vlog post thing, and this is their July 17th update. They're still actively working towards closed alpha. They say that roadblock that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks is nearly resolved, so that they've got hopefully they've got that on the chopping block, and that is kind of dealt with. So they seem to me, Brian, reading through this, it seems like to me it was some sort of networking issue, because as we've implemented additional measures to prevent it from coming up again, especially after we launch, it seems to me it's probably some sort of scaling thing, or some sort of server client network thing that was causing, like Miscreated originally had when it launched, 40 megabits of upload and download to play a game because it was syncing so much data. So hopefully, that appears to be resolved at this point, and we're moving forward with that. There's a little vlog here, or a little video showing some of the character creation stuff, and what this little screen looks like. So similar to a lot of single player games, you give your character a first and last name. A little less crazy than oh crap, what is that game? The one that I reminded you the name of last week, and now I'm forgetting it. Scum. It's got some of these things. You can select occupations, but the attributes are a little less crazy. It's typical stuff: agility, charisma, endurance, intelligence, strength. More like a Fallout RPG kind of. More of
role playing. That's what I was going to say. More of a role playing style.
Yep. And then there's some perk selections, and you have perk points and whatnot. You don't normally see this, or I wouldn't think that you would normally see this. I like how they've done this. It's kind of a predefined thing. Yeah, there's two ways to go about this, right?
It's similar to 7 Days to Die, don't you think? In some of the way that they kind of do the perks, as far as like, you get this, which gives you a little benefit.
But this is all beforehand, which is what I was just going to say, is like, 7 Days to Die, you do it during the game. This is all some of this stuff, like the perk points and whatnot, is all play stuff. So you're selecting your occupation, you get certain perk points for that. And then, your skills, cooking, crafting, farming, mechanical, lockpicking, medical, things like that. So you'll go through that system. A couple of screenshots here that we can take a quick look at. Here's some different door lock variants. You've got 2 beams up against the door, and then some sort of steel or metal post laying across the front of the door, stopping it, and then a wooden one. Obviously, you can presume that the metal one will be harder to break. You've got a chain lock system as well, that you can put across your door. This is what we showed last week, and we were wondering what this was. This is actually a water collection system. The top looks to be open, so I'm assuming it's going to collect rainwater. And you may also be able to pour...
probably from like houses or whatever, the drain. I bet you that it goes like with a gutter system,
gutters,
that would pour into this.
And I would assume you'll also be able to put some sort of, dirty water in this, and it will, I would do some sort of filtration. That would be pretty cool. And then they've also added a small portable heater that you can use to regulate the temperature of your greenhouse, which is obviously going to be a big thing. And you're also, Brian, this is super neat. You'll also have to protect your water source from freezing. So you can't just lay these things all outside. They'll freeze and the water won't be usable. Obviously, it will be ice. So you'll have to use some sort of little portable heater or something of that nature to keep those things flowing so that there's some water. Here's a couple more Catan/samurai sword things that they're putting in here. Is this a hockey jersey? That's what it looks like to me. It's just like
I bet you with kind of going with the Canada theme. I bet you that's
some sort of hockey jersey.
It's a variation of a hockey jersey.
Yeah. So they've got that in there. This is cool. They've added a gun range that'll be a point of interest. It's cool. You can see it's got the whole like track system for you to put your shooting paper on and your targets. This looks nice. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be some good loot spawning in areas like this. Just some more, really cool looking screenshots, but screenshots, they look really cool. The screenshots look amazing. If you just, Mr. Immersion Man over here, Mr. Brian, you just look at this picture and there's so much to digest here. But how much of this kind of
can you try to loot those trash cans? I'm
not even worried about the trash cans. I'm
saying how much of this is interactable? Like, is it all just space, or is there
how much of it is interactable?
Like a reason to go places?
How much of it though feels like? How much of it has good atmosphere?
Yeah, where does it feel like you're actually?
Well, that's the thing. Is like, obviously, Brian, I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm not interacting with it. It looks great, but running around as a player in it, what does it feel like? And that's the unknown at this point. Is while this stuff may look amazing, and it does, it looks stunning. How much when you're running around in this, what does it feel like? What does it look like? How does it play? How does it move? That's the unknown at this point.
Yeah, and what I think I'm kind of interested in is, they kind of redid how the servers will work as far as the size of the servers and everything. I'm really curious when it comes down to it, once they finally release, like, how is that going to be? Because I prefer, kind of like what we had with H1Z1, having a giant open world where you have the chance to run across people. I didn't think they were going to do that on this. I thought it was going to be a smaller group, but then they talked about having bigger servers, and I'm just wondering how close it is going to be to more of the H1Z1 of there's enough people on the server that you're going to run across people that you don't know. Where I thought originally it was going to be more like a 5-man co-op against the world, which I thought that's what they kind of pushed on the Kickstarter. But then, it seems like they've changed that course since.
Firebomb says, Dead Matter is the last great hope for survival games. If it fails, I'm done with survival. How much more is there in the pipeline after Dead Matter?
Yeah.
I know there's a couple of projects going on right now, like Zero's one of them. Miscreated is working on a lot of new things. But the last hope for survival, last new hope for survival, I believe this is the only announced project that we're watching. I can't think of anything else that we're actively talking about.
There's that Grounded game which came out, that I don't know if that's fully released, but that I haven't heard a lot about. It's not like we hear people talking about that constantly. The other games that people would talk about coming out, I don't really think of them as super survival games.
Yeah.
These are games. I'm just not hearing anything like what we consider like a hardcore true survival.
Yeah. Well, it will be here hopefully sooner rather than later. And if you're not a backer, you can go ahead and do that and get access to it when that stuff comes out. So that is a quick update on Dead Matter, and hopefully we'll have a new vlog here. I know last week they said there was going to be one coming out soon. Hopefully we'll have one here in the next couple of weeks.
Sounds good. All right. Let's talk really quick about Cyberpunk. This is something. This is more of a somewhat political thing, but in a way, it's not political because people have been asking them, how has the BLM things influenced your game? And they said ours is a work of art, not a political statement. So pretty much saying all the political things happening right now are not going to play into our game, which I think is the best choice.
Yeah.
We don't need, if they're making a game that they think is truly timeless, for instance, let's look at GTA 5. There was a lot of current culture pop, kind of things that were put in there that nowadays when you hear them, probably especially the younger players hearing these things now, they're like, what are they it's just, they have no clue what really it's referencing that we would get. With this, I would rather, those things I didn't really care about at the time, I'd rather have something like this. This is supposed to be a future game. It shouldn't be dwelling on 2020. If it's a game that's truly, 2077 is not going to be sitting there and reminiscing on 2020. So I think this is the smart, just stay out of it. There's no need for politics in these video games, because as we have said in the past couple of weeks, people come play video games to escape all these things. They don't come to hear political statements and things in these kinds of games, even though game studios seem to think that is their call and what they're supposed to be doing. But I think this is a very smart thing for them to say. One thing we did talk about, they were approached by the same people that approached Last of Us 2, saying we want to help you make your game more politically correct, and Cyberpunk pretty much said nope, we don't need your help. And you could see what it did for The Last of Us 2 with the political consulting that they received. So I think this is very smart of them if they want a game that's not going to get review bombed and people are actually going to like. So just a little heads up, and hopefully that speaks well to the actual game as it gets released.
I haven't had a lot to say positively recently about it because I'm trying to manage expectations, Brian, but this is a step I can get fully behind and am all in on. So that is great news to hear from the folks over at CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. Another headline over here at Massively Overpowered, Brian, was that Sea of Thieves has seen more than 15 million players across its different platforms. That, of course, would be Xbox and PC through the Xbox Game Pass and on Steam. That's great. It saw more than 3.3 million players in June, which was the month that came out.
That's when they launched on Steam. Yeah.
So
now they're doing all this crossplay between these various things, and people are liking it. They had a pretty big presence because anybody who has the Game Pass on an Xbox has access to it on PC or on console. But I think a lot of people didn't want to use the Windows Store to purchase this game. I mean, I've not purchased any games out of the Windows Store personally, but here people are willing to buy it on Steam.
But let me ask you this, and this is what I find a little bit crazy. So in January of 2020, the game had hit 10 million players. This game has been out since March of 2018.
Yeah.
That's a relative, 10 million people is a lot, but you're talking about they were almost 2 years into their launch before they hit 10 million players. Typically, games hit their stride well before 2 years. And all that really shows, Brian, is that between...
And they made up for half of that in this
more
this
than
year.
half.
They made half that. I mean, they got 15 million now. They started with 10 million at the beginning of the year. I mean, they made 50% increase just in the year, this part of the year.
They've, they only had essentially 2.5 million players new between January and June, which may be a lot. I don't know why it doesn't seem like a lot. Maybe because the game's been out since 2018. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that this is an easy kind of low-hanging fruit too. I mean, look how many people have that pass, and are willing to try out this game. I don't know that this is, they say total players. I assume these are people that are actually logging in and playing it, not just, it's accessible to them on the Game Pass.
Yes, it is. Because way more than 10 million people have Xbox Game Pass, I would think. So these are players that have probably logged in, have accounts in a database there for Sea of Thieves. But with that comes the delay of an update that was originally scheduled for tomorrow. They have pushed that back, and they are actually doing a some sort of server maintenance. Sea of Thieves,
and they're not sure if it's going to be hours or days, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and so they're getting ready for their Ashen Winds content update, and it's supposed to start. Excuse me. It was supposed to happen tomorrow. It was the Wednesday, the 22nd at 10 a.m. BST. I assume that's British Standard Time.
So 2 p.m. Pacific.
2 p.m. Pacific. They were going to take the servers offline. They are not doing that anymore. There's an issue with the update, so we're not sure when that'll be. Hopefully sometime between now and next week, but the current content update from them is patched. Or excuse me, is yes. Delayed, and it's not going to be patched.
Yes. So keep if you're actively playing that and you were expecting it tomorrow, well, you'll be waiting.
Yeah,
a few hours or a few days, depending on how long it takes them to fix it. Now, there was something that we've kind of talked about when we first started talking about Stadia and some of these services. This is something where Elder Scrolls Online has been pulled from Stadia Pro's lineup. And this is something that we talked about, Stadia being an issue when you're purchasing a game. Now, you could say Elder Scrolls, they have a free tier, but let's say you've paid for part of the things, and then you lose access to it. This is something I was kind of surprised about, that, you know, how do you handle selling games on a subscription service that then can instantly be pulled, and then you don't have access to your game anymore? And here's an example of it. You know, people are getting frustrated and they're crying foul with this because, you know, sure, you start on the free to play, which you can justify, hey, you're not out anything. But then as soon as you're saying, oh, but you can purchase this DLC and all these expansions, bam, you know, you've entered into a contract, and then they can pull it, and you no longer have access to the game you purchased, and there's no local service to be able to do it. So very, very odd, but I think we'll just have to see if this is a trend. Perhaps this is just the beginning of, you know, kind of like with the NVIDIA thing that happened. You know, all of a sudden, all these services started dropping off. I would think people would be nervous to go and sign up for Stadia because, you know, something like this happening. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to buy a game on Stadia if they're going to be able to pull it and revoke my access.
I want to thank Vault Boy T for hitting us up with the subscription here on Twitch. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I mean, Brian, when does Google take this poor little service out back and shoot it with the shotgun and get the inevitable over with? I have heard arguably nothing positive about Stadia since literally nothing. I cannot tell you one positive thing I've heard, and it's free. There's a free tier. It's not $10, $15.
I haven't heard about
literally
people using
free. And I haven't heard jack shit about Stadia. Literally nothing. How is this possible? Nothing.
Yeah. This is something where I think that they're going to have to really inspect how are we doing this, because I think their current model that they're trying to sell this under is just, I don't think it's obtainable. I don't think that people are going to go and purchase on this platform that doesn't have a way to guarantee that you're going to keep your purchases. You know, I mean, we've already shown the website when they first announced the Stadia. You know, people have websites dedicated to all the projects that Google has canceled. I mean, Google Plus, and you could go down the list. Their RSS reader, and all these things. I mean, there's a
rest in peace feed burner.
Yeah, there's a huge list of things that that Google has shut down. But, you know, most of those things, people were not paying for an actual product to have it in there. You could maybe sign up for a subscription for a temporary service, but you know, this is something that I think is a little bit different. So I just think this is, I don't think, I envision this as something that's going to be shut down or reimagined. I think that the tools, kind of like we were discussing, the remote working tools that, you know, for doing development in the cloud, that's one thing. They need to get rid of this service. Make the tools for people to develop in the cloud and sell that to studios, but quit trying to sell games when you're not going to be able to back them. Google does not back things well. They back out of things too easily.
Well, and unfortunately with Stadia, they were literally trying to, unlike some of their other projects, they were literally trying to reinvent video gaming. I mean, you talk about taking the regular traditional video game model and flipping it completely upside down. To me, that's not something you can really half-ass. And Google has more than half-assed it. They have done, they did a little bit of marketing when it first came out.
The fact that we couldn't even get an interview with them showed how serious they were. Like, they weren't even interested in, doing interviews at PAX, talking about their product. I was pretty surprised by that. So, that kind of showed me that they're not taking this seriously, where other companies that are expecting to actually make it, like, they would do everything possible to make sure we could get an interview with them.
Agreed. Unfortunate, but not anywhere near
another
surprising.
Negative thing. Another negative thing with Stadia.
Yeah, I think I can't see this service lasting at all.
Yeah. Let's see. We were talking about Rocket League. I don't remember if we covered everything with them. Let's talk about PUBG for a little bit instead.
Okay.
There's a lot of things going on with PUBG right now. First of all, one thing that they've done is they're banning PUBG in Pakistan. So Pakistan's telecommunication authority has stamped temporary ban on PUBG, and they're saying that it's psychological, economic, and legal misdirection. I don't know what that really means, but I can understand that they probably don't agree with some of the politics that are in PUBG, or just some of the representations of things. I mean, they've got cities and places that they may view as looking like places there. But it's banned for now. And I think that it will, who knows? I don't know actually if it will ever become unbanned, but they're saying that this poses a serious negative impact on physical and psychological health of children, because the game is addictive, wastage of time, and it poses these threats.
No comment about Pakistan as a country outside of that, of course.
Yeah. According to recent media reports, cases of suicide attributed to PUBG game have also been reported. I haven't heard any of this. Maybe it's because people have been locked inside, and depression is skyrocketed, and it's not really the video game they're playing.
Are you telling me? And suicide is not a joke. In all seriousness, I'm not saying this to be tongue in cheek. Are you telling me that people are killing themselves and writing suicide notes and saying PUBG is the reason I'm killing myself? That is the most unbelievable thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, this is the Pakistani government claiming this.
I know, but you're telling me people are writing their suicide note is saying PUBG made me do it? The cast iron pan that guy was wearing on his ass that I couldn't kill, that's the reason I'm doing it? Really? Come on.
No.
That's insane. Now, if you want to make the argument, Brian, that increased time spent on their computer and not socializing with people is causing an increase in suicide rate, I'd say, okay, absolutely. I could buy into that.
But not PUBG specifically. Then ban all online video games if you're going to claim that that's the problem, because it's not PUBG. They like to blame it on Fortnite. They like to blame it on PUBG. They like to blame it on the game that people are currently interested in. Well, if you really think it's a problem, then ban all games, because you're only concerned about games that are really people are interested in. But your core is the games are the problem. You're just targeting the ones that are the most popular.
Yeah, I would. Obviously we'll never see this, but I would love to see the statistics that back up the fact that people are killing themselves because of PUBG. That's asinine.
Yeah. So, and actually there are statistics by the Department of Justice informing that over the period of the years 1994 to 2000, the video game industry had its biggest rise. During that time, their exponential increase in popularity and growth, violent crimes by juveniles aged 15 to 17 plummeted by 44%. So, and the same reflected in young adults, 18 to 24, the crime rates decreased by 24%. In the time the video games have expanded. So if you think the video games are the problem, why, when video games were having their biggest increase, were violent crimes decreasing? It doesn't make any sense. They don't line up. The two things do not line up.
But okay, Brian, but let me pass this one by you. I would say that somebody that spends a majority of their time inside, and this is
are less likely to go outside and do a violent crime.
Well, okay, yes, but and again, this is a general statement. Doesn't fit everybody. I would say, Brian, people that are staying inside and playing video games, those people probably, and I'm sure there's some study to back that up, those people are probably more likely to commit suicide and be. The reason you commit suicide is depression. Those people are more likely to be depressed than people that are social butterflies and constantly going out and doing things. In a general sense, I would say that's. It passes the smell test to me. It seems like a pretty reasonable statement to make. So yeah, do they contribute? But again, saying PUBG is the problem is retarded. That makes absolutely no sense.
They're always looking for someone, they're looking for the current video game to blame rather than saying all games.
Yeah, but it's not the current video game. PUBG's been out for freaking 40 years.
But you got to think of the demographic that you're dealing with, though. You're dealing with Pakistan, which probably isn't dealing with the latest hardware and going with the latest top.
That's true.
These are games that are being tailored for mid to low end machines, and where because they're catering to China so highly, where that's a lot of the type of machines they're running on, which would fit pretty well with Pakistan, where you're not going to be running Warzone on the PCs that they have there. And we've already been told you don't tend to have. You don't tend to have consoles over there. Is something that according to reports, they're more likely to have low end PCs than consoles. PH is even bringing up, PUBG runs on a mobile phone. They've got $40 Android phones that people are playing. We don't know that whether they're talking about the PC version versus the mobile version. It could be that a lot of the kids are playing on, what people are playing on the mobile version over there. They could just ban the whole thing outright. So,
yeah, the gross, the average income in Pakistan, converted to US, is $15,000.
Yeah, so they're not going to be going out and buying a $2,000 gaming PC.
That's true.
Most likely. There may be people that spend a huge amount of their income or somehow make it happen, but on average, people are not going to be spending. What is that? It's 1/7 of their yearly income
to play PUBG
on a PC.
Yeah.
No,
true. True. Interesting.
I think that's just different. Now they've also had a number of things that they're doing here, changes in the game.
Okay.
And first of all, they have added in Sandhawk this thing called confiscated weapons, and these are weapons that are pretty much kitted out already. They come with enhanced, the best sights or whatever they are. They've already got stuff on them, so they're going to be having those around the map. For instance, you may get a Kar 98 with a suppressor, 6x scope, bullet loop attachment, etc.
And that's coming in those trucks.
Yes, so you got those. So what's dropping out of the trucks, you'll be able to get one of these Kar 98s that are fully kitted out, and that's a new thing. Also, they have on these the loot trucks. That's now open, and so there's actually a video. If you go to the loot trucks video, they show a video of people attacking one of these loot trucks, and you kind of see how it works. This is an MP4 video, so I'm not sure how that'll.
Oh crap! Oh damn! This looks like a complete cluster.
Oh my. There you go. It's an interesting concept. So
it is. Huh. That's pretty cool.
Go in there, you can loot everything. It drops them on the ground, and you can get some of those loot.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's another one where it's the Sandhawk 4. This is more of some lore things, the characters that you can pick, and I put this in here so if people are interested, they can go through and see some of the characters that they're putting in this. It has a full bio on each of these characters, but it's a write-up that has a lot of the information, because in the game, for the graphic, it shows like a file and a stat sheet on the character. This has all that information that makes it a little bit more readable. So if you're interested in checking that out, that'll be in the show notes. And then they're rebalancing the footstep sounds. And so there's actually a video showing the difference between the two, but they're trying to get it to where it's more consistent in the game. I'll let you listen.
Let's listen to this let's listen to this for a minute. Let me jack up the audio here. Hold on.
So this is before. And here's after.
Oh, you can hear like the sound of the sand a lot. Yeah, like it actually sounds like you running in sand.
Yeah. So there's sand barefoot. And this is before.
Sounds way more natural. The other thing just sounds like a sound that they're looping like over and over again.
You could hear the inconsistent loop as well.
Yeah.
Of it. It wasn't cool. Consistent enough. And this is something that I've done, because I've done videos on these footprint sounds in Unreal Engine. And the thing is, they got to go get even enough recordings to where they can kind of pull random sounds, and it doesn't have one that sounds way different from the other, which was what the first one did. Because you can have it just pull a random footprint sound, or even if you wanted to make a group of them, it can randomly pick a subset, and then have sounds in there. There's all kinds of things you can do. So it sounds like they're finally going in and actually recording decent versions and just placing them in there.
Yeah.
And also the unnatural sound changes over distance. That's one thing. So first of all, they had the poor quality sounds. They were just quick. You could tell they were quick, cheap ones that they put in there that some Foley guy recorded. And then now they have unnatural sounds that changed over distances. So they're trying to make that more consistent. So as you get away, it still sounds like what it is. And then you could hear a bigger difference between barefoot and with shoes. So on those recordings that you heard, they wanted to be very audibly different between the having shoes on and being barefoot. And then there's some other videos in there that I didn't put, but they show the dirt grass with shoes. They also show some examples of like close up versus the sound as you get away from it. So there's rock before with shoes. And there's rock with shoes after. So that's how it'll sound now.
It's definitely I'm not somebody that is like, we just talked about earlier, like 1080p versus 4K. I'm not somebody that will be like, oh, wow, that's amazing. You can actually tell. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference in game, but isolated, you absolutely can tell the difference.
I think you will, because having sorted through these and like picked out Foley sounds, and really gone through and actually done this analysis of
Foley sounds.
Foley. So the people that go and record these sounds, like they take a bag of sand and they have it drop on a board to get that sound. That's called Foley.
Huh? Is that something I can do in like my spare time or something?
Yeah, you could actually. It's a lot of people do it as a hobby.
That.
Yeah. If you have good mics and equipment, like there's definitely ways that you could go in and do Foley work.
That sounds very.
It's a very sought after thing, because sometimes you're looking for a sound for a specific thing, and it'll be something like he's opening up a knife, and so you got to find the knife that kind of has the right creak to it. Or there's some other object that's not even a knife that makes that sound just right. Like you'll be listening for all these little things, like, oh, that sounds like this, and you'll go and you'll record it. You'll isolate it and you'll record it. So yeah, Foley is what it is.
Stuff finder.
Yeah, you could say that's a bomb. Like a bomb timer. You could record the bomb going on. Yeah,
but
whatever it is,
ASMR stream. No.
But that's pretty much what they've gone through and actually had somebody fix their Foley recording. So. Yep, that's Foley. There we go.
How does that make you feel?
At peace. So there you go.
Interesting. Huh. I've got a lot of cool things I can do. I can click a pen. Wow.
So maybe
you got all the recording equipment.
Even like the sound of walking in grass is very difficult. And the cool thing is, if you really got into it, if you wanted to make money, you could then sell those assets on the Unreal Marketplace. So you record the sounds, and then you can sell them as like, here's footprint sounds, because they're more difficult than you would think to find. Find good, high quality sounds.
There's a cool video. I think I've talked about it in this show before. It's Bungie did it for the development, or Microsoft did it for the development of Halo 3. And there's a huge thing about the sound, and the sound of the Warthog is like one of the guy's little 2-stroke piece of crap Hondas that they recorded and then like changed the frequency of and whatnot and the pitch. And it's like, oh yeah, that sound of your Warthog is some guy's like $7,500 2-stroke Honda engine. It was just, I don't know, it's funny. Audio is super neat.
That is something though, if they have the recording equipment, it's something that's fairly easy to get into, because even going and recording like a running water, like on a stream, all these little sounds that people take for granted in a video game have to be recorded.
I'm going to do this.
And enough variation to where you don't hear the repetition like they were hearing with those footprint sounds. The problem is they didn't have enough variation to where and then they had one that was slightly off so you could really hear it. It stood out.
Yeah.
But you want it to where if you're walking in a video game, you're walking along a river, you don't want to hear the repeating river, the exact same sound every 10 seconds, right? It's got to be natural, or maybe a random bird going, like someone has to go and record these. So there's definitely a need for it in the video game industry. It's one that's easy to get into. Yeah, it's easy to get into if you do it. So it just has to be clear.
Huh. So, I'm going to look into this hobby.
Anyway, so that is.
I'll have a report for you next week.
Should try. All right, sounds good. Well, I expect some sample recordings.
Absolutely not. Dude, I got an entire house I got to unpack. I don't have time to.
All right, well, after that.
Stupid audio. Oh, here's the sound of me flushing a toilet.
Hey, there's video games that might need that. You never know.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings Online. Sorry.
So did we talk about Rocket League? Were we talking about Rocket League during the pre-show, or did we actually talk about it?
I don't think we talked. I didn't talk. Did you talk about it when I went to go set up my light?
I think so.
I didn't.
All right,
so
let's go talk about Rocket League. I don't want to be repeating and be like, "Are you not paying attention to the show?" Because I swear I talked about this already.
No, I didn't hear anything about Rocket League.
All right, we're good then. Okay, so Rocket League, they are, first of all, they're doing a message to community. They're changing their report player experience to update the system to be more effective in identifying and eliminating racist, abusive, and hateful language from in-game text chat.
Oh, okay.
So while permanent bans have always been part of the system, we've escalated the rate of punishment for violations and a further efforts underway. So that's something that you probably will start noticing because of the current things going in politics. They're wanting to be stricter on racist messages. And then also Epic's Rocket League. Oh, we were talking about this in Discord. So if you're interested if you're not in our Discord and you listen to the show, I encourage you to get in our Discord. But Rocket League is going free to play. And,
whoa! That's huge news.
Yeah, they're going free to play, but they're also moving to the Epic Game Store. Now,
what?
If you are for their PC version, if you already have it on Steam, it's going to stay on there. You'll still have access to it if you purchased it already. But all new people that are going to be getting it will be getting it through the Epic Game Store.
That's huge.
Now,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is incredibly competitive for people that haven't really played Rocket League. It's a very competitive game. Plays better on a controller than keyboard and mouse. But if you already own the game, as a kind of a thank you for having paid the $20 originally, all Rocket League branded DLC released before is now free. Before free to play will be added to your account if you already own it.
Wait, all DLC?
All Rocket League branded DLC. So
just so not like the licensed Ghostbusters, none of that crap.
Yeah, I don't know. Gotcha. I would assume that means it's specific ones. They're going to give you a title that pretty much displays the year that you first started playing.
Oh.
They're going to give you 200 plus common items will be upgraded to legacy quality. The Gold Cosmos Boost will be given to you. The Diesi Oro wheels and the Huntress player banner. So if you own it currently, you'll be getting all those things added to your account when they go free to play. So now a lot of it, I think also is kind of pointing towards, they're going to be integrating a lot of the kind of cross-platform voice chat and all these different features into the Epic Game Store. And I'm wondering how much has to do with that, kind of preparing for these cross-platform features that are going to be more specific to the Epic version of the game that, I'm sure they're going to make work with the Steam versions, but I think they want to have as many people on their platform as possible to integrate those.
Yeah.
Now, and PH says they're removing it from Steam, but I read in this article they are not removing it from Steam.
They may be removing They may be
you won't be able to purchase it.
Yeah, but you won't be able to download it.
The Steam version will get full support for future updates and features, says Psyonix. And you'll still be able to do all the things you could do before, like buy items and use the Rocket Pass.
Gotcha.
But you're going to have to start using if you get it. If you don't previously own it, you'll have to get it through the Epic
Store. No first-time downloads from the Steam store anymore.
Yes. So, yeah, no first-time downloads. And they're adding all their cross-platform inventories and progression cool. If you link your Epic account. So, So I mean, if you have things in your Steam version, you can then link it to your Epic version, and it'll give you everything that you had on the Steam version.
So
as well,
let me ask you this: do you think this is a good move? And if so, why? If not, why? The game's been out since what, 2014 or something? The game's been out forever. They made $50 million in the first 6 months of it being out.
So it's a PH, one thing I want to address really quick. PH is bringing up, how are you going to invite someone? So they already have a universal user account system that works for consoles and PC. So they're going to probably just continue that. You'll have a Rocket League account name that then will allow you to connect to whoever you want across whatever platform. I'm kind of neutral to. Epic does own this, and the fact that they're still supporting everyone to be able to get all the updates and continue doing everything for the ones purchased on Steam, that is fine with me. I think they're really wanting to prove and use their tools that they're implementing for the cross play, all the different features that currently Steam has for stats and all these different whatever that's been built over the years that's being built for Epic. I think that they want this to be the platform that they kind of debut all those things on. They own it. It has very good support for crossplay, and I think that they want to test all those in this and release them in this, and then they'll be testing their compatibility with the Steam part of it, probably with the Steam versions. So I think it makes sense. I don't, I like it to be I'd like it to be open across to everybody, but I can understand that they're not looking to do that. Plus, anyone who buys. Probably what they're trying to get away from too. They're going to have a free-to-play game. They don't want to do 30% of all of the microtransactions payments to Steam. And if they do it primarily through this, then they'll actually be receiving a lot of the money from it. So
excellent. Well, that's crazy news. I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, PH. And then one thing is they have been linking. So they did. I saw a post by Sweeney talking about their integration with GOG, for example, to where you have full library sharing between GOG. So if you purchase something, you can download it and run it all through GOG. So I think they're working on making all the different clients really work together in a single interface as much as possible. I think a lot of it, Steam doesn't necessarily let them do it as much, and I think they're working with the other platforms like GOG to do it as much as possible.
This is now obviously most people already have this game, so I don't foresee this being a huge hit for Steam.
And most people play it on console anyways. There are a decent number of PC players, but this is a highly console game.
It is, but Brian, this is always within the top 10 or so games on Steam. There's 44,000 people playing it right now. It's above it is Ark, GTA, and Rust. This game is within the top 10 active most played games on Steam. So it's got.
I think they've definitely got a decent number. But this is another one. They own Fortnite, and they own this. These have a very high player count. I think they want them on their platform. It's just their products. They want people to play it on their platform.
Agreed.
So I have no issues with them doing this. as long as they continue to support, like they said, they have people being able to play this on Steam if they have already purchased it, which they're saying they will continue to do. So, and they've been pretty good. They've been good about that. They've kept their word on that with other titles that had that same issue.
Yeah, well, good on them for keeping that. Again, I don't think it'll make a huge difference. I think if you wanted this game, you already have it because it's been on sale so many times. But if not, download the Epic Game Launcher and get it for free. Yep. Speaking of a game that's not free, No Man's Sky, $60 title. They've got a new update out, Brian. This is the de-isolation update, and there's a short little trailer
Desolation.
here.
Desolation.
Excuse me. Yes. Yes. The Desolation update for No Man's Sky. Quick little video thing, and we'll be back. Ooh, spooky. So this is the No Man's Sky update. One of the big things that they're adding here, Brian, is that there's going to be a bunch of big freight ships that are going to just be floating adrift through space. Gives me a little bit of like a Dead Space and Halo kind of feel. You've just got these huge
alien
freight
game
ships.
that they did.
The Alien game. Yeah, forgot about that one. Yeah, so you'll be going through the different corridors of these ships. This is cool. All of the big freight ships, Brian, the interiors of them are all procedurally generated, which is not normally you see.
So they'll all be unique.
Yeah, I mean, normally you see procedural generation on land and points of interest, but the insides of ships being procedurally generated is pretty neat. There's atmospheric danger, so you'll see different things. Gravity could be offline. There could be these security sentry AI things that'll be attacking you. It's a pretty big update. They've added a couple new items.
This is way different than their current, though. Like, this is, as far as the feel, like, this is way different than anything I've seen in No Man's Sky up to this point. This is the first kind of like a dark feeling that they've always gone for light atmosphere and bright colors.
Very much reminds me of Dead Space and Alien, and more like Dead Space. I don't think I've ever played any of the Alien games, but definitely a Dead Space vibe, which is kind of a creepy sci-fi. And even by the little little screenshot trailer thing here, that it's got that, it's got the
now there's
blood
procedural
effect.
stories as well too. I'm kind of curious, like, how is that going to work?
Yeah, I don't know. And here's the thing:
it could be beautiful, or it could be just a disaster. It's kind of hard to know.
I'm never playing it, so I don't really care. But it does appear to be a big update. Day late and dollar short. I'll continue to say it. I'll say it till the day I die. Well, maybe not till the day I die. For a long period of time.
Well, this will be released, and so if you do have this game now, this is a free update, correct?
It is
free.
Yeah. There's no. I don't see a store page saying it's paid for. So yes, I do believe so.
And it's currently 50% off on PS4 if anyone's interested in purchasing.
Nice.
It. So that's Desolation update 2.6. Now, last Oasis, they one thing I did find is their 2020 content roadmap. I hadn't really seen this before. I don't think we've ever showed it, but I found an image of that. So if people are interested, they talk about some of the major features that they're looking forward to. As far as some like the walkers and various weapons, furniture, items in the game. They're looking at doing a volcanic theme, commerce theme, ancient theme, and then more in the future beyond that. But that is just some of the things that they're looking at doing. Like the ancient theme, they're talking about like a labyrinth with caves and tunnels, and a city that's dug into a cliff. Some pretty cool things they're looking at doing for that. So I ran across that, figured I'd throw a copy of it in our show notes so we'd have it for posterity. And then they're doing their 1.3.2 patch. There's actually a video for this. This is called their volcanic update, because that's one of the themes that they're working on, is having kind of an area that's like a volcano. So if you want to play the video for that and be able to see some of what that looks like. Are they spraying tar, it looks like?
Yeah, is that what that was?
It looks like they're spraying tar and then, setting it on fire. Then they have explosive bolts and things that you can shoot.
Huh.
Very interesting. I didn't see anything of the volcano area, but...
Nope, not at all. Not even close to at all.
What's funny is it's in the screenshot. Is that part 1? No, it's part 2. That's right. In the screenshot for like the image of that video, it shows the volcanic area, but it wasn't anywhere in the video itself. So, but in here, they're adding some various looks for your characters, different costumes and things that you can wear. That, for instance, the plague mask, like the from the plague days, that one that looks like a bird's nose or beak. That they're putting some of those masks in there.
Oh, neat.
So if you're interested in that, they've also got in this a community Q&A that they did that you're more than welcome. We'll have that link in the show notes. You can go check that out. And then their change log, if you're interested in seeing their change log, they've got a decent size, 5-page change log of all the little adjustments that they've made in this 1.3.2 patch as well. So I don't think we need to go too deep into it, but people are welcome to check it out.
Yes, sir.
And then ROE, so Ring of Elysium, came out with an update as well. This one's pretty small. So first of all, they had their Ada, which is enabled Ada, the wild one, style A, style B, and then another look. So it's 3 different variations of look for a specific character. And then they had an adjustment where the RTX 2070 NVIDIA and 2070 Super graphics cards now automatically enable DX12 when you launch it. So that is it for ROE.
All right, let's talk about 7 days real quick. We've got a marginal, not a marginal update, but one of the changelog. This is a B164
B169
through B169. It's 164 through 169 is the changelog, and this was posted on Friday, and it was run throughout the weekend. I'm just gonna go over a couple of things that they added because that's kind of the most pertinent stuff here. The option to change the size of the FPS display, which I believe was in the upper right-hand corner or left-hand corner, don't remember exactly. You can now change that. They've added the old Wild West coffins to the game. The tough guy sunglasses, check this out, Brian. The tough guy sunglasses, they boost your fortitude. So and you can put them up for sale, which is pretty cool. They allowed the XUI list combo boxes to you can initialize them with ints, interval ints and floats via XML. So this is for people that I guess are I didn't realize the game was. I didn't realize you could do custom stuff with XML. I haven't really checked out modding in 7 days. Enable and disabled XUI simple buttons from XML bindings. Allowed the XUI controllers to react to binding changes at runtime. The mem objects and meb objects console commands to list the shrink the object pool. Okay. The HD biker zombie they've added, the chainsaw flesh impacts for melee harvest. They added hits/grazes to all 3 tiers of knuckles. Visual cues for text orientation on players' storage crates, so you can actually see what side you're planning text on. The radiated vulture vomit attack sound effect they've added. video effects for Saint Discard Console Command, and then the janitor zombie, which is going to be finally fixed in B170. So half of that wasn't English because it's a changelog. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that they've added. And then they've changed a bunch of stuff. Small animals spawning in forests. Shotgun damage and auto shotgun rate of fire reduced, so those will shoot a little bit slower. Decreased the cooking pot mine changes. Block entities will now be loading on demand from an object pool. A whole bunch of crap. Just
one thing that you might notice difference of large predator animals like the bears and the dire wolves only spawn at night in the forests now.
That's cool.
Wolves have a very small chance to spawn in forests during the day, but mostly you'll only see those coming out at night. So that is very one cool change you might see. Another one is Unturned. They put out their 3.20.7.0 update, and it's called Elver. Elver provides a unique experience, not just through a fictional setting, but also by changing the way the game is played. Survivors must scavenge the entire map to construct horde beacons and gas masks for a chance at the highest tier equipment, or sell gear at the NPC safe zone in exchange for currency to buy it. The only lootable location on the map, the city of Elver, is surrounded by a dense forest dedicated to base building. Zombies are a threat across the entire city, so keep an eye out for any TVs with static. They mark the presence of hidden ranger crates containing unique weapons and items. So interesting kind of a game mode that they're doing in there. So if you're interested in that, then they had a couple of fixes and changes that they did as well.
We'll have to give this a shot.
Is Elver, yeah, it looks like a very unique game mode.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a more of a game mode than just a map. And we showed the trailer for last week. And actually, in the trailer last week, they showed some sort of tower collapsing, which I thought was pretty cool.
Another thing I wanted to mention is that the Long Dark is currently on sale. Oh, I talk about it fairly often, but it's for me. I have to see. I get a little bit more of a discount on Humble Bundle, but it's $7.22 there right now. So if you, it's for 5 more days. So if you're interested, sorry, that's 7 days to die. I said 7 days to die, correct?
No, you said Long Dark.
For some reason, I meant 7 days to die. I put it on the wrong thing. So 7 days to die is currently $7.22.
Yes, $8.49.
Okay, sorry, I get extra discounts for being
$8.49, which is a good price.
And I'll put it under the correct name.
I was like, then I looked at it and then I searched up the Long Dark and I was like, well, damn, that's not on sale at all.
No, not long. I meant 7 days to die. We were talking about 7 days to die and we skipped it in the wrong order. So it's kind of wrapping back around. So.
Yes, and if you would like to, if you're going to buy this, I would recommend you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, and click the Humble Bundle icon, so that if and when you purchase something on Humble Bundle, it gives us a little kickback, which helps fund.
Or you can type humble.infectionpodcast.com and it'll take you right to the store.
Even better. Look at that. Brian is the man with answers here on the program. So
I think that's it. I think we covered everything.
That is it. Which is good. But that's, of course, not it for the show. We've got a very important segment coming up, and that is current players. Let's take a look at who is currently playing Ark Survival Evolved. 45,413 people currently playing that game. The 24-hour peak, 70,559, with a 7-day peak of 80,258. Moving on over to Rust, currently playing 52,612. The 24-hour peak, 72,548, with a 7-day peak of 82,847. And finally, wrapping us up, 7 Days to Die. Currently playing 22,095, the 24-hour peak 25,548, with a 7-day peak of 33,015. So some really solid numbers there from 7 Days to Die, Rust, and a couple of the other games that we talk about here on the program. So a little bit of a abbreviated current players this week because I'm still getting used to my whole setup here. So you have to excuse
No worries. That. All right, let's go ahead and roll into tip of the week. And this is where either I give a general gaming tip, or I figured since we've been talking about it, I would do this on Rocket League. So this is tip of the week.
Nice shot. Nice shot. What a save. What a save. Nice shot. Nice shot. What a save.
Go. All right. So figured this might help you a little bit in Rocket League. I mean, it's going free to play, so maybe some people will start trying it out. But one thing that you can do, first of all, when it comes to boosting, a lot of people don't realize that once your car shows kind of a purple type of effect on there, that is as fast as the car will go. It gets like a little purple boost effect on there. If you keep holding it down, it's not going to make you go any faster. So you can hit that effect, hold it, and then save your boost for because you've hit max speed of the car. Save your boost for the aerials at that point. Also, one thing that helped me the most in Rocket League was the dodge. A lot of people see it as the forward flip, and you can do that to get faster than normal speed. So it's a great way to get it throws your car farther ahead, so you can get across the map or the arena pretty quickly doing this. You can use it to quickly gather the boost items. So if you do that, you're able to get across much faster. And I encourage you to go maybe look up some videos on how to use. And that's why I wanted to use the specific term dodge, because that's what it's called, even though you might think of it as a forward flip. And what I did is I actually readjusted my key mappings on my controller to be able to use that dodge more appropriately, because that is a night and day difference. So maybe do pull some YouTube videos, do a little search, try to find how you can map dodge to your controller and start learning that way, because it will make a night and day difference between how you're driving now if you're not using dodge at all, and how you play with that being used. So that is tip of the week. And I think we'll probably have some people, they take it seriously. If you go look into dodge, it is a game changer for your style of play in Rocket League. So, but make sure to use the term there, dodge. Can't hear you.
I'm going to take a look into that as well, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, very good. But yeah, that's the thing. My nephew actually, who you guys have played with, and so you understand he's pretty good at this. Nephew Trey.
No. He showed up and was like, "Oh, hey guys, I want to play some Rocket League," and he just comes in and just starts pub stomping us. I was like, "Come on, dude, get out of here! Go play with your freaking gold tier friends, you jackass! Leave us alone. We don't even play the game."
So that's the thing. He went through and like redid my controller settings. It made a huge difference.
So now you're MLG
if you go in there
Pro?
and redo that. Well, I'm not pro, but I do much better. It makes it to where you can actually you're not constantly using your boost, because you can actually get across the field very quickly to go get your boost and then save it for aerials and things like that. So it does help a lot.
I'm gonna report back on this tip of the week. I will try this.
Yeah, try it out, because that was a big surprise for me. Cool. All right, we're ready for the game giveaway?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And this is for a copy of Grid Ultimate Edition. So let's go ahead and close this. And we will draw. And congratulations, Vault Boy T. Who also, I think, didn't he sub to us earlier? Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's a new sub to the channel. So congratulations. And I will send you a message that will have a link so you can go and redeem that on Steam.
Very cool. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, Brian's out of town. I'm unpacking, so no structured game of the week coming.
We might be doing Rust, actually. I think I'm going to set up a Rust server, and I think that they might be doing a Rust server. I'm going to try to give them full access to be able to manage it, restart it, things like that.
When you say they, are you talking about people in our community?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I think that some people are talking about doing that. So I'm going to set up a server, and then we'll look at doing that. So
great.
But yeah, plan on Rust, and then if someone wants to play another game, we're more than welcome to jump in there and encourage other people to play other things as well.
Yes, and the way you do that is by heading over to our Discord server, which you can find, of course, on our website, or I just threw it in the chat here on the Twitch channel. So check it out.
Very good. All right. Is there anything else we need to do before we roll on out of here?
No, sir. I think we're all set. I would say overall a pretty successful program with a little bit of a smaller setup.
For
I'll tell you what.
New location. And
I'll tell you this, Brian. and this is going to be for a small subset of our community, but it's going to be important. Switching to a virtual audio mixing was by far the best thing I've ever done. It made this move from an audio standpoint so much. I had all of my audio back up and running, including my MIDI controller and everything, in less than 30 minutes because I plugged in my microphone gate, my DBX, which is my preamp and gate, plugged that directly into my interface, plugged in my Korg Nano controller via USB. I didn't even have to reconfigure anything. It all just knew what to do, and it was bam.
Nice.
And I have this. I have the mixer I used to use. I'd be running RCA cables. I'm sniffing out ground loops. I loved having an external mixer, but in this case of moving, it made that process so much simpler. And if you're on the fence about hardware versus software mixing, hit me up on Discord because I was on the same mindset, and the couple of things that have recently happened have just proved that there's no reason to, for this use case, there's no reason to go back. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there's my little soapbox.
All right. Well, hey, if anyone wants to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Boise Computer. Of course, my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, make sure you go to our website, as Nick said. On the right-hand side there, join our server on Discord, because then you can jump in and join for the Game of the Week this weekend. If you want to submit news to the news channel so that it can be included in next week's podcast, or if you just want to hang out and chat, play various video games, a lot of people are doing that in there. Also, our Steam group, you can get a notification before our live show. If you happen to be sitting at your computer on a Tuesday evening, you can get that little pop-up and jump in, join us live, and have a chance to win, for instance, like the game giveaway we just did. Also, you can watch us live, or you can watch the recording after the fact on BitChute, on YouTube, on Twitch, and DLive. Also, we have our podcast extras that you can go check out if you go to the link there on the YouTube, and that is our pre and post show that are recorded and then placed on there after. Also, we have our audio only forms, the lower right. And so if you want to check that out, you can click one of those links and it will connect you in audio. This is after, those don't do live, but they will get to a recorded version that you can listen to on a mobile device or on a desktop app. And then now 288 episodes of show notes. So if you want to refer to any of the links or any videos, things that we discussed during the show, all those things will be available on the show notes, and you're more than welcome to check those out. And if you're interested in supporting us, right at the top there, there's a support tab that has links to like our Humble Bundle, affiliate code, Amazon, and of course, we get a lot of support through Twitch Prime, which is very helpful, and that pays for when we're able to go do PAX, which looking forward for next year. That those Twitch Prime subs pay for that, so it's very useful. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And Brian, thank you as always for all the pre-work on the program, setting up the show notes and everything. It is greatly appreciated. All right. Well, we'll see you Friday for some Rust in the Discord, and if not, we will see you next Tuesday as we, Brian. I'm realizing this, Brian. We're just, I say a couple weeks, but we're about 10 episodes away here, 11 episodes away from the big 300.
I know, it's crazy. Moving along. When are we retiring? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, well, we need more Twitch Prime support and Humble Bundle purchases if we're going to be retiring off the podcast.
We need to turn this into one of those things. How they used to have like those old preachers on the television, like, we need
like the begathon,
$2,000 more to be able to stay open. We'll have to do that every episode. We need 3 more subs. With 3 more subs, and we can stay.
We'll be losing subs. We'll be like, get out of here. We don't want to. We want our Tuesday night back. Stop doing the show. Yeah. So, alrighty, Brian. Well, thank you very much, my friend. I'll see you Friday night, and then we'll see you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. We'll see you later.
Alrighty, folks. Well, thank you again for, as Jones says, I'm once again I'm asking for your Twitch sub, your financial support on Twitch. Thank you. Thanks, folks, for joining us for another episode of Infection. My name, as always, is Nick Craig. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, if you missed any portion of the show, you can check out our show notes, videos, links, all that fun jazz over on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.